We look forward to spending the next 30 minutes with you talking about how to ace your freshman year. And this year, we're saying ACE is adapt, connect, and empower. And we think those things will be really important, especially given that we are now beginning the school year remotely. And so with Remote Learning Plus, we know that you are probably feeling a mix of emotions depending on how you're experiencing this, right? Like there might be relief, there might be gratitude, there might be frustration or disappointment, even anger. And we acknowledge that all of those emotions can coexist at once. And one thing you might also be feeling is a little bit stressed. What do you expect freshman year, this year of important transition, when you're going to be transitioning to high school with Remote Learning Plus? So we want to talk just a little bit about how some of our experts suggest that you manage that stress and engage with it. Our experts are students that have done this remote learning experience and are going into their senior year in remote learning. So we know there are lots of questions about what will advisory look like, what will freshman orientation day look like, and we are working hard behind the scenes to make sure that we have a lot of support for our incoming freshmen. We're not going to share the details of freshman orientation day or advisory this evening. We're going to highlight some more general practical tips for you, but we will be sharing that information in the coming weeks so that students can anticipate and prepare for that experience. So without further ado, and maybe I didn't mention, my name is Ms. Dittman, Zara Dittman. I have the privilege of working with these mentors as the FMP coordinator. And without further ado, I'm going to get out of their way so that you can meet them and hear about their experiences and some of their best advice to you to ace freshman year.
Hey you guys, my name is Carly King, and shout out to Danny Wright, go DW. And my favorite part of my morning routine during the regular school year has to be starting my day off right and grabbing a cup of coffee.
Thanks, Carly. Hi guys, I'm Molly Duffy, and I go Eagles from Aptekissick. And the way I like to start my mornings are meditating and doing yoga. It's really relaxing when I wake up.
Thanks, Molly. Hi, everyone. My name's Akash Tanjor. Shout out to private schools. The way I like to start my morning, my favorite part of the morning is stepping outside the door and taking a breath of fresh air.
Thank you, Akash. Hello, everyone. My name is Rebecca. Shout out to Twin Groves. I like to start my mornings, like Carly, with a nice, fresh cup of coffee.
Thanks, Rebecca. Hi, everyone. My name is Jack Arney. We'd like to shout out West Oak. Go West Oak. And the way I like to start my morning is with a nice run.
Thanks, Jack. Shout out to Fremont. Same with Jack. I like to start out my mornings with a nice run, but sometimes it becomes an afternoon thing because I just can't wake up in time.
Thanks, Alex. Hi, everyone. I'm Serena. Shout out to Woodlawn Wolves. And my favorite part of my morning routine is getting to spend time with my dog and play with him in the mornings.
Awesome. Thanks, Serena. Hey, everyone. My name is Michael Zasowski. Shout out to all private schools. And my favorite part of my morning routine is definitely brushing my teeth, because I'm super proud of myself when, like, without yet having my glasses on, I can successfully get some toothpaste onto the toothbrush. And you know, I think it's a really great accomplishment, especially when I can't see anything. So with that being done, I will pass it on to Molly, who will share our agenda for today.
Thanks. Rebecca's actually doing the agenda, but she can go.
All right, thank you, Molly and Michael. So the first thing we have on tonight's agenda is our guest speaker, Miss LaFrancis, who Molly will shortly introduce. And then we're just going to talk about some events that we have here at Stevenson that are meant for you to de-stress. After, we're going to introduce to you your SST, or what is an SST, so your Stevenson Student Support Team. And then us mentors are going to talk about our individual strategies in which we use to distress, and we're going to leave you with some resources at the end for you to use.
Thanks, Rebecca. Now I'd like to introduce Miss LaFrancis. Miss LaFrancis has been a social worker for 10 years now, 6 years at Stevenson, And this year, she is going to be the Assistant Director of the Student Services. Miss LaFrancis is such an accomplished woman, and she's absolutely amazing. And she's also the sponsor of Peer Helpers, a club at Stevenson. You guys will hear more about the presentation and about how they fit into de-stressing at Stevenson. Overall, Ms. LaFrancis will be covering many topics such as the resources available to students, such as the Student Services team, as well as many other resources available at Stevenson to help students de-stress and ace their freshman year.
Alrighty. Thank you, Molly, for that wonderful introduction. Thank you to all of our mentors and Ms. Dittman for being here and putting this together, and for all of you who are viewing this right now. First and foremost, welcome, class of 2024. We are so excited to have you joining our Stevenson family. As Molly said, my name is Sarah LaFrancis, and I am the Assistant Director of Student Services at Stevenson High School. And first and foremost, I just want to say that, you know, to Ms. Dittman's point earlier, it can be a very unsettling time. There's so many emotions going on, but I do want to assure you all that we in Student Services are doing everything and anything this summer to really plan for the best ways to support all students in the remote setting. So when we think of supporting our students, of course, at a school, we are focused on academics. However, Stevenson is a wonderful place that really wants to focus on the entire student. So that includes the social emotional wellness of all of our students. That is a huge priority for us. So in Student Services, we are developing different things that we can engage in remote learning setting, so that we can be sure to continue to support you all even while you're learning from home. So one of the things I definitely wanted to bring up is a new thing that we're doing called pulse checks. We will be doing those for all grade levels throughout the semester. And specifically for freshmen, you'll engage in your first one in advisory. So you'll find out more about that from your mentors in a few weeks. But basically what those are little Q&As, just asking how you're doing, checking in on you, seeing if there's anything going on that you'd like to chat with a student support team member on. So really, I would encourage you to be honest and open on those surveys, just so we can be sure to support you the best way possible. I did just mention student support team, and I know our wonderful mentors will be talking about those shortly here. But just so you all know, all Stevenson students have a student support team, and that consists of a social worker, a counselor, a psychologist, and a dean. And that team is really there to support the student throughout their entire tenure at Stevenson High School. So you have a ton of people that are there to support you, in addition to all of your wonderful teachers and other support staff around the building. In terms of utilizing our student support team, we definitely understand that all students, just like all adults, all humans in general, have various emotions, and we want to be sure to support you through any emotions that might become a little bit more challenging, or even the good emotions. I always love when students come to my office and tell me good, positive, happy things too. So just know that we're here to hear you through anything that's going on. In terms of stress that was mentioned earlier, we did want to talk about the fact that there are such things as good stress and bad stress. So I think in terms of student support services, we want to make sure that all students are really just being mindful of where they're at with their own level of stress. Because again, everyone gets stressed, right? We all experience that. But there's sometimes when that stress becomes increasing to where it gets to an unhealthy amount, and maybe we experience other more difficult, challenging emotions because of that. So let me kind of define those really quick. So when I say good stress, I mean that's kind of stress that might be good, might be beneficial, motivating. So sometimes, I'm sure many of us can speak to this, we feel a little stressed out because of an assignment, but that promotes us doing that assignment and getting it done, right? So that's okay. That's an okay level of stress. Sometimes actually stress can help you boost your memory and maybe even help with immune system, some research says. So some good stuff can come from a little bit of stress. However, there is bad stress as well. Bad stress can cause anxiety, maybe lead to other health problems. So some examples of when you can notice that maybe bad stress is kind of developing. Maybe you have an inability to concentrate or complete tasks. You might get sick more often. Your immune system's impacted. Changes in appetite, trouble sleeping, maybe sleeping too much. So there's a lot of signs and symptoms of having that bad stress. So we just want to be sure that you're being mindful of how you're feeling and how you're behaving. And I think for any parents and guardians that are watching this out there, I think just being mindful to monitor that in your child, because if you guys notice any changes, you can always reach out to your student support team as well. Again, the counselor, social worker, dean, or psychologist. So we are always available for you to reach out to via email, call, voicemail, whatever you need. We want to be there to support. And then in terms of different ways that you can de-stress and support yourself in challenging that level of stress, we have a ton of different resources at Stevenson, some of which are specific to certain times of the year, and others are ongoing. So if you see here on this first bullet point, it talks about mental health wellness series, and that is actually a series of events that we have at Stevenson through our student support teams, where we specifically at least once per month engage in various coping strategies and promote kind of different strategies for students to help support their mental health. We will be doing these via Zoom this year, so keep an eye out for that. We'll be sure to get that information over to our wonderful FMPs so they can talk about that in advisory as well, and advertise that online, on the website, on our social media pages. So keep an eye out for those monthly events. We do also do de-stress days during our finals, which those have a special place in my heart because they're a wonderful couple of days for all students to get some great support. Typically in the building, we do those in our CCC, our College and Career Center, but we will still be doing the de-stress days over Zoom, so more on that to come. We also have what's called the Student Lounge. So Molly had mentioned that I'm one of the sponsors for Peer Helpers here at Stevenson. Peer Helpers is an organization that we have. It's comprised of about 55 different students, sophomores through seniors, who really have it their mission to make Stevenson a safe and warm and welcoming place for all students, all adults, everyone that's around in the community. They do awareness weeks, they do mental health forums, but one of the main things that they do is staff this student lounge. Again, this is a physical space in the building, but while we're in our remote environment, this will take place via Zoom. The lounge is open during all lunch periods, Monday through Friday. So the peer helpers are in the lounge, there to welcome students, make friends, help people find connections, play games, just have someone to talk to. So you'll find out more information about that through your FMPs, but also again through social media, the website as well. In addition to those things, there's many different types of ways that we can de-stress every single day inside and outside of school. Some examples here, some clubs. We do actually have hundreds of clubs at Stevenson High School. It's pretty impeccable. Some of the clubs are actually focused on mental health, such as Mind Your Mind. There's athletics, outside counseling resources. So you can find some resources for outside counseling on our D125 website. I know later the mentors are going to be talking about the specific student services page on the website. So you can find that information there. Or simply reach out to your child's student support team because we can always hook you into some resources as well. Talking to friends, family, staff members, engaging in positive and healthy appropriate hobbies. And then in addition to that, in school through Stevenson, we do actually have individual counseling sessions. So this year we're actually starting up having Calendly appointments with our student support team members. So essentially what Calendly is it's a website through technologically, you can set up your own appointment, actually. It's really cool. Every single SST member at Stevenson will have their own Calendly page where any student can go to and sign up for an appointment with that SST member. The Calendly pages will be up soon. Those are not currently on the website, but they will be up soon, so keep an eye out for that. In addition to using Calendly, you can always, of course, email a team member if you need something at all. And we also are starting what's called our drop-in hours with our social workers and our counselors. So all social workers and all counselors will have various drop-in hours throughout every week of the semester. And that is actually just a time where you can pop in via Zoom to their drop-in hours. So again, we want to make it as easy as possible to access us. Finally, we also have support groups. So Stevenson is, again, very remarkable in the fact that we have over a dozen different support groups. Year to year, these might change just based on the needs. So for example, this year, we actually are starting a couple new groups surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic. specifically geared towards coping in the age of COVID. So that is certainly a new group that we're adding. But again, our groups are both psychoeducational in nature and then also talk or process groups, focusing on a variety of topics. The group lists are also available on the website, or again, you can also reach out to a student support team member and get that information. So that is that. Tons of opportunities. Oh, and actually really quick, while I think about it, again, you guys are coming in as freshmen, which is wonderful. Any of these supports that you would like to partake in from day one, please do. But just know that all students are welcome to partake in these supports at any point throughout their career at Stevenson. So, whether it's your first day of freshman year or your last month of senior year, we are here to support you every day of your time at Stevenson.
Thank you, Ms. LaFrancis. So now I'll be covering applications and resources through your iPad and through technology that you guys can access. So Stevenson, luckily enough, provides us with many resources, just as Ms. LaFrancis was saying, but two apps that I want to highlight are Crisis Manager and MediaCast. Crisis Manager is a great way to report any instances that happen to you at Stevenson or now at our remote campus. And MediaCast is a great way to access our online ILC. In case you didn't know, the ILC is the interactive learning center, and students go here during their free periods, during their study halls, or even after or before school to read books, hang out with friends. And the online ILC has magazines, books, and all kinds of media available for students to access. So you can access this to the app MediaCast. Whenever you guys want to chill out, read a book, explore something new, go on MediaCast and you have access to all its resources, as well as the online ILC database, which is linked to the Stevenson website. So you guys can do any research projects that you feel like you want to pursue. That's something you can do as well. Now, some apps that I recommend for just not associated with Stevenson, but they're great for chilling out, are Calm, Headspace, Breath, and Motivation. All these apps have great resources such as videos for yoga, meditation, as I was saying I love to do earlier, and just great ways to chill out and calm yourself down. And it's really good for practicing self-care too, because self-care is super important and something you never want to forget during the pandemic. My personal favorite is Motivation, though, because you have an option to send yourself multiple quotes a day. So it's just a fun little motivational quotes that you can get text on your phone from. And it's a really great app just to remind yourself, hey, you got this. And hey, just keep up with your workload and be happy. So it's a great way just to have some positivity during the pandemic. And now Stevenson also has some resources on their website too, in case you don't want to go onto your iPad. So on the website, as Ms. LaFrancis was saying earlier, d125.org, there are resources for reporting bullying, racial harassment and discrimination, and safety concerns. So there's 3 different separate forms for this. And one of the best parts about this form is you can also report anonymously in case you don't want to reveal your identity. So you have access to these 3 forms through the website, and feel free to report any instances that may occur to you or someone that you know. And yeah, it's a great way to kind of reach out to Stevenson indirectly, which is a great resource that we have here. So yeah, I always take advantage of these apps and resources that Stevenson offers. And yeah, now we have Akash and Michael talking about advisory.
Thank you, Molly, for talking about the apps and resources that are available. We'll cover more of those in depth in advisory. So that leads me to what I'm going to talk about, which is a typical week in advisory. So typically we'd have at the beginning of the week, ANN, which is the Advisory News Network. So it's a news network tailored for freshman specific news made by mentors. So essentially it's a good way for freshmen to get all their news for the week. I'm going to hand it over to Michael, who's going to talk more about the SST or student support team and talk about who is in your SST.
Yeah, thanks, Akash. So in your SST, or your student support team, you have your faculty advisor in your advisory. You have your counselor, your dean, your social worker, us student mentors, and various teachers. And so something that's really crucial, in terms of the SST, is that you will have counselor visits, dean visits, social worker visits, and even a visit with the principal and superintendent throughout your career in advisory. And this is really, really important because you get to acclimate yourself to the school, and your SST is always there to support you. So we do this in advisory to allow you guys to develop these connections with your SST, because throughout your high school career, they'll be very crucial through helping you to gain success in any facet of your life that you may have a struggle with.
Michael, do you mind if I jump in super quick? just to clarify something too, because as you're talking about the student support team, I just want to make sure that everyone is aware that I know it seems overwhelming that there's so many roles on the team in the best possible way, right? The more support, the better. But just so you know, our counselors are really geared towards the academic side of things, scheduling, talking through classes, helping to advise in that area. Although they do have social emotional training as well, so they're great people to talk to as well. Our deans focus on behavior and support in that area. The social workers are really focused on that social emotional piece. So if there's certain things going on, you know, at home or, you know, with friends or in a class that, you know, you're stressed out about, or anything related to emotions or behavior, anything like that, please come talk to someone. Send an email, again, in our remote setting, fill out the Calendly, make an appointment. There is no problem too small. We want to help support you. Sometimes I hear from students, gosh, like I want to talk to someone, but I don't want to bother anyone. You are never a bother. We want to hear from you. We want to support you. So I just wanted to add that in there really quick. Thank you.
So I'll pick it up. So like we were saying earlier, we'll be able to meet with the principal, the superintendent. You get to meet with librarians and other staff typically. And also in advisory, we'd learn about school and traditions and events that would be upcoming. And also in advisory, we would focus on team building, collaborating, working with others, you know, essential skills to you know, thrive. And while this is a typical week in advisory, we want to reassure you that in a remote setting, we will still bring our full effort to give freshmen the opportunity to make connections to their campus, classmates, and community. Now I'll hand it over to Carly, who'll speak specifically more on resources available for students to utilize.
Yes, so we have touched on some of the resources available to you, and we wanted to include this slide for you to have handy for future reference. So please feel free to take a picture or screenshot it so you can have it throughout the school year. So the first QR code will pull up Stevenson's community resource page, and this will list many local resources for a variety of concerns. Your student support team, or SST, is a great resource also in better connecting you with some of these resources as well. The second QR code to the right will pull up the student services page, and this can lead to more information about Stevenson's student support teams, social workers, health services, and support groups at Stevenson. And also, as Ms. LaFrancis mentioned, a page with all of the faculty's Calendly links will shortly be updated on this page so you can make appointments with your SST. And we can further discuss this in advisory too, so do not worry. And below we have Lake County's hotline, which provides a 24/7 anonymous text crisis line that connects you to a fully licensed counselor quickly. And this is similar to the 24/7 suicide lifeline listed below as well. And lastly, us mentors are also a great resource available to help create a positive Stevenson experience for you. And we are excited to see your faces on Zoom. And now moving on with Serena for ways to de-stress.
Thank you, Carly. So now a few of my mentors and I are going to talk about ways in which we de-stress because as we know, we've been through almost 4 years now of high school and we've developed some tips and tricks to de-stressing and kind of just taking a relaxing break from the academic side of school. So I'm going to start. For one thing, I play volleyball, and for me, sports are a super powerful outlet for myself. They let me take a break from all the academics, tests, homework, and all of that, and kind of just give me a chance to spend time with my friends and relax and just play the game that I love. And at the same time, I love to take time for myself. So once or twice a week, I like to take a day to kind of just chill out, relax at home, have like a at-home movie night or something along those lines, kind of just to take time away from everything else going on in my life and just spend some time with myself. And so, yeah, so those are some of the ways I de-stress. And now I'm going to pass it on to Rebecca.
Thank you, Serena. So, hi, I'm Rebecca. And like Serena, I'm also an athlete. So, I find that during my season, I get really overwhelmed with tests and schoolwork and keeping up with practices and games. So, I find that time management is a huge factor into making things less stressful for myself. So, I try to keep things organized and keep an organized schedule of when I'm going to do things, when I have certain tests, games, practices, etc. And then I also like spending time with my friends when I'm free. I have a small rule for myself. So on Friday nights, I try to just leave that night as completely open as possible, just to make time to spend more time with my friends and have fun. And it's just another way for myself to de-stress. And now I hand it over to my friend Alex.
Thank you, Rebecca. So I'm not nearly as athletic as either Rebecca or Serena, but organization has been a super important part of my time at Stevenson as well. Here's a quick shameless plug to go and watch our previous webinar episode about organizing our virtual backpack. It's in the archives. I personally use my student guidebook and my Google Calendar to keep organized and make sure that I don't get overwhelmed with club meetings, homework, and just trying to balance everything. Personally, for me, that's been one way to make sure that I'm always on top of everything, so that way I'm not procrastinating anything. And then on the last night where like a big assignment's due, I'm like stressing out at like 2 a.m. Not only that, but I've made a lot of use of my student support team. Shout out to Mr. Taddy, my counselor. He's received a lot of emails from me these past few years, scheduling meetings to talk through what's going on in my life with him and any scheduling or personal things that might need to be resolved. I think being proactive about meeting with my SST has been one of the most important parts of keeping emotionally healthy throughout my high school experience. So to anyone watching, please make use of these resources and your SST because they've been monumental in my personal high school experience and dealing with all the stressors that might come in my way during high school. So I believe I'll be passing it off to Jack for the conclusion.
All right, awesome, guys. It's great to hear some personal examples about how you guys use your resources here at Stevenson. So we'd like to say thank you guys so much for spending your evening with us. We're sure you guys have a bunch of questions, and as FMPs and faculty, we're here to answer that. Additionally, during advisories, we'll be able to talk to each and every freshman and address any of their concerns. This is a new experience for everyone, but with that said, we're all in this together. So thank you guys so much, and hopefully we'll see you guys soon on Zoom.